In this video, we'll discuss solutions to part C, that is mathematics, for the 2016 JEE mains paper. We will be following the test booklet code E. So let's start with question 1, or in this case question 61. For a function f of x, we are given f of x plus 2 times f of 1 by x is equal to 3x, and x is not equal to 0. So x can take any value other than 0, positive or negative. And then we are asked a question about x based on sets, but just based on this information we can actually calculate fx. Because x is not 0, if it's valid for x, it will also be valid for 1 by x. So we can also write f of 1 by x plus 2 times, now this will be f of x and this will be 3 by x. And from these two we can eliminate f of 1 by x to get f of x. This gives me f of 1 by x is equal to 3 by x minus 2f, which means f of x plus 2 times 3 by x minus 2fx is equal to 3x, which means this is minus 4, so minus 3fx is equal to 3x minus 6 by x, which gives us f of x is equal to 2 by x minus x. Now we are given S, which is a set of numbers belonging to the set of all real numbers, such that f of x is equal to f of minus x, and we want to know how many elements there are in this set. So we can just solve for this equation. F of x is equal to f of minus x will give me 2 by x minus x is equal to minus 2 by x plus x, which gives me 4 by x is equal to 2x, or x square is equal to 2, or x is equal to plus minus root 2. So we see that there are indeed two solutions, which means the answer will be option 3. For 62, we are given a function 2 plus 3i sine theta divided by 1 minus 2i sine theta, and we need the value of theta, or a value of theta, for which this is purely imaginary. So we know what we do in these sorts of complex numbers. We just multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the conjugate of the denominator. So 1 plus 2i sine theta by 1 plus 2i sine theta. This is because this gives me a real number in the denominator, which will be 1 minus 4 sine square theta, 1 plus 4 sine square theta rather, because there's an iota square as well. And we can just multiply these two functions, so we'll get 6, and these two imaginary parts give me we'll get 2 minus 6 sine square theta plus, and we'll have iotas times something, which will be an imaginary term, which is really not needed in this. Now for this number to be purely imaginary, the real part has to be 0, which means 2 minus 6 sine square theta is equal to 0, which gives me sine theta is equal to plus minus 1 by root 3. So one possible answer obviously is theta is equal to sine inverse of 1 by root 3, which gives me option 4 as the answer. For 63, we are given x squared minus 5x plus 5 times x square plus 4x minus 40 is equal to 1. And we need the sum of all real values of x. So it's actually quite easy to solve questions like these. This is 60, I'm sorry. When you have two numbers a and b and a to the power of b is 1, there are only a few possibilities. So if a to the power b is 1, it means either b is equal to 0 or a is equal to 1, or because anything to the power of 0 is 1 and 1 to the power of any number is 1, or there's a third possibility, a is equal to minus 1 and b is even. Right, this is also an important case. If a is minus 1 and b is odd, we are talking about integers a and b, right? So a and b both are integers. If a is minus 1 and b is odd, minus 1 to the power of an odd number will be minus 1. But if a is minus 1 and b is even, both these statements need to be true, then also a to the power b will be 1. So we can just solve for all these three cases. The first one, b is equal to 0, gives me x square plus 4x minus 60 is equal to 0, which is x square plus 10x minus 6x minus 60 is 0, which means x plus 10 multiplied by x minus 6 is equal to 0. So x is equal to minus 10 or 6. We get two possible real values. And then a is equal to minus 1. A is equal to 1 first. A is equal to 1 gives me x square minus 5x plus 5 is equal to 1, which gives me x square minus 5x plus 4 is equal to 0, which is x minus 1 times x minus 4 is equal to 0, which means x is either 1 or 4. And these are also possible values. Finally, a is equal to minus 1 gives me x square plus 5x plus 5 is equal to minus 1, x square minus 5x plus 5, which gives me x square minus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0, or x minus 3 times x minus 2 is equal to 0, x is equal to 3 or 2. But there's a second condition here, b has to be even. That means x square plus 4x minus 60 has to be even. And if you put in the values of 3 and 2, x is equal to 2 will give me an even value, but x is equal to 3 will give me an odd value, because this is odd and these two are even. So x is equal to 3 is not a possible solution, because in this case it would be minus 1 to the power of an odd number, which is minus 1. So the solutions are minus 10, 6, 1, 4 and 2, which gives me the sum of them as 3. So the answer is option 1, which is 3. A is equal to 5a minus b, 3 and 2, and we are given that a times adjoint of a is equal to a times a transpose. Now since this is just a 2 cross 2 matrix, it's actually quite easy to calculate adjoint of a, so we'll just write down the whole equation and solve it. So what we get is 5a minus b 3 2 multiplied by the adjoint of a. So if we just eliminate 5a, what we're left with is 2, so we'll get 2 here. If we remove minus b, what we'll get is 3 here, so 3 should go here, but we'll actually take the transpose of that, because adjoint a needs the transpose of the cofactors. So 3 will be here and there will be a minus sign, because minus 1 to the power 1 plus 2. And similarly what you'll get is b and 5a, and this should be equal to 5a minus b 3 2 multiplied by a transpose, which is 5a minus b 3 2, and you'll get 2 cross 2 matrices. 5a minus b multiplied by 2 minus 3 will give me 10a plus 3b. 5a minus b multiplied by b and 5a will give me 0. This multiplied by this gives me 0, and this multiplied by this gives me again 10 plus 3b, 10a plus 3b. This should be equal to These two terms give me 25a squared plus b squared. 5a plus b times 3 and 2 gives me 15a minus 2b. 3 2 times 5a minus b gives me again 15a minus 2b, and this just gives me 9 plus 4, which is 13. So the first equation we get is 15a minus 2b is 0, that is for these two values. 15a minus 2b is 0, or 15a by 2 is equal to b. The second equation would be 10a plus 3b is equal to 13. So 10a plus 3 times b, which is 15a by 2, is equal to 13, which means 20a plus 45a, 65a by 2 is equal to 13, which means a is equal to 2 by 5. And if a is equal to 2 by 5, you can easily calculate the value of b as well. B is equal to 15 by 2 into 2 by 5, which is 3. And we actually have to satisfy this equation as well, but we can see that it is satisfied for 2 by 5 and 3. So 3b will be 3 into 3 or 9, plus 2 by 5 into 10 will be 4, which gives me 13. 25a squared will be 5a whole squared, that is 2 whole squared, or 4, plus b squared will be 9. So if this equation wasn't satisfied, there would really not be any solution, but this is also satisfied. So the solution is a is 2 by 5 and b is 3, and we are asked the value of 5a plus b. So 5a plus b comes out to be 2 plus 3, which is 5. So the answer will be option 2, which is 5. The next is a pretty straightforward question. You are given a system of linear equations and we need a non-trivial solution. So we know that that is true when the coefficient determinant is 0. So we'll simply get 1 lambda minus 1 lambda minus 1 minus 1 1 1 minus lambda is equal to 0. This turns out to be 1 times lambda plus 1 minus lambda times minus lambda squared plus 1 minus lambda squared plus 1 times minus 1 times again lambda plus 1, and this is 0. So these two cancel directly, and you can easily see that the solution is lambda is equal to 0 or 1 or minus 1. So there are exactly 3 values of lambda, which means the answer is option 4. Next, we are given that the letters of the word small are arranged according to the dictionary, and what is the position of this word. So we'll start with the words beginning with A, and what we are left with is L, L, M and S. We are left with 4 letters. Using these 4 letters, how many words can we make? So for example, if we make L, L, S, M, then the word would be A, L, L, S, M, which would be before S, M, A, L, L, obviously. So we need all the words beginning with A, which means these combinations, which will be 4 factorial divided by 2 factorial, because there are 2 L's and we can't distinguish between them, which gives me 24 by 2 or 12. How many words beginning with M? What we are left with is S, A, L, L. Hang on, before that L, yeah, A, L, M. So in L, what we have is S, M, A, L. Now these are 4 letters, but they're all different. So there are 4 factorial ways of that, which is 24. Then we have words beginning with M, that is S, A, L, L, which is again 4 factorial divided by 2 factorial, because we have 2 L's, which gives me 12. Now you have words beginning with S. Now the first word beginning with S will have the next letter as A, and there are 3 letters left, which would be L, L and M. So the number of ways to do that would be 3 factorial by 2 factorial, which is 3. And then you have words beginning with SL, in which case you have L, A and M left, which is 3 factorial because all 3 are different, which is 6. And after that you'll have words beginning with SM, and the first word beginning with SM will be SMALL, and this is the word we need. So these are a total of 24 plus 24, 48. 48 and 9 is 57 words, which means small is the 58th word, which means the answer is option 4. We are given that the number of terms in an expansion of an expression is 28. What is the sum of all the coefficients? So the expression is 1 minus 2 by x plus 4 by x squared to the power n. Now we can say that 4 by x squared minus 2 by x is equal to y. Then this term becomes 1 plus y to the power n. And this can be written as 1 plus ny plus n into n minus 1 by 2 y squared plus dot 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 plus y to the power n. Right. Now obviously 1 will just have one term. Y will actually have two terms, 4 by x squared minus 2 by x. Y squared will be 4 by x squared minus 2 by x whole squared. We know that has three terms. Right. In fact, 1 plus y whole to the power n has n plus 1 terms, and so we'll get a total of n plus 1 terms, and the last term will have another n plus 1 terms. So every term will give 1 term, 2 term, 3 terms in x, and we need to add all of them to get the total number of terms. And that will simply be the sum of the first n plus 1 natural numbers, which is n plus 1 times n plus 2 by 2, and we know that that is equal to 28, which means n squared plus 2n plus 3 is equal to 56. Sorry, n squared plus 3n plus 2, my mistake. N squared plus 3n plus 2 is 56, which gives us n squared plus 3n minus 54 is equal to 0. N squared plus, now this is 6 and 9, so 9n minus 6n minus 54 is equal to 0. N plus 9, n minus 6 is equal to 0. N is minus 9, which is not possible, and n is equal to 6. These equations are only valid for natural numbers n. Right, so we know that n is equal to 6. Now we are asked the sum of the coefficients of all terms, and there is a very standard way to calculate the sum of the coefficients. We just substitute x is equal to 1, because then in this case all the terms involving x will just give you the coefficients, right? So if you put x is equal to 1, what you get is 1 minus 2 plus 4 whole to the power 6, which is 3 to the power 6, which is 729, which means the answer will be option 4. The second, fifth and ninth terms of a non-constant AP are in GP. So the second term will be a plus d, the fifth term will be a plus 4d, and the ninth term will be a plus 8d, and we are given they are in GP. That means a plus 4d whole squared is equal to a plus d times a plus 8d, which gives me a squared plus 8ad plus 16d squared is equal to a squared plus 9ad plus 8d squared, or ad is equal to 8d squared, which gives me a is equal to 8d, which means the numbers are 9d, 12d and 16d, and we can calculate the ratio easily, this divided by this or this divided by this, which is 4 by 3. So the common ratio of this GP is 4 by 3, which means the answer is option 2. We are given the sum of the series 1 3 by 5 whole square plus 2 2 by 5 whole square plus 3 1 by 5 whole square. That can be directly written as 8 by 5 whole squared plus 12 by 5 whole squared plus 16 by 5 whole squared plus 20 by 5 whole squared, and so on, right, for the first 10 terms. If you want to write this in terms of n, what we can do is Tn will be, so they'll be divided by 5 square in the bottom, then we can see this is 8 squared, 12 squared, 16 squared, right? So this is basically 1, 2 and 3, but it's actually it's rather 2, 3 and 4 all multiplied by 4. So what we have is 4 times, the first term is 2, the second term is 3, the third term is 4. So we'll take n plus 1 and this whole square. This is the nth term, and we need to find the sum of the first 10 terms. So that will be, we can just get 4 squared by 5 squared, that is 16 by 25, multiplied by sum n is equal to 1 to n of n plus 1 whole squared. So this is the answer, and we can just write this as 16 by 25 times the sum of n is equal to 1 to 10 n square plus 2n plus 1. This turns out to be 16 by 25 times the sum of the first n square terms can be written as n into n plus 1 into n plus 1 2n plus 1 by 6 plus 2 times the sum of the first n terms will be n into n plus 1 by 2 into 2, so this plus sum of the first 1 terms will be n. This turns out to be 16 by 25 times 10 into 11 into 21 by 6. Now n is equal to 10 plus 10 into 11 plus 10, which is 16 by 25 times, this is 7 and this is 2 and this is 5, so 5 into 7, 35 into 11 and 10 into 11, so it's 45 into 11 plus 10, which is 16 by 25 into, this will be 450 plus 45, 495 plus 10 is 505, and we are given that this is equal to 16m by 5. So 16 and 16 cancel, this gives me 5, this cancels with this and gives me 101. So what we get is m is equal to 101, which means the final answer is option 2. We are given p is equal to limit x goes to 0 plus 1 plus tan square of root x to the power of 1 by 2x. So all we need to do is write this in the proper fashion. This can be written as x goes to 0 plus 1 plus tan square root x to the power of 1 by tan square root x, and we only do this so that we can use the limit 1 plus x to the power 1 by x. What is left with is tan square root x divided by 2x, and the first part is just simply e, because limit x goes to 0, 1 plus y to the power 1 by y is e. So what we get is, there's still another limit remaining, e to the power of tan square root x by 2 times. Now we can write this as root x whole squared, and we know as x goes to 0, tan y by y is 1, so this term becomes 1, and what we are left with is e to the power 1 by 2, which means that ln p is equal to 1 by 2, which means the answer is option 3. In 71, we are given f of x is equal to mod of ln2 minus sin x. and g of x is equal to f of x is equal to mod ln2 minus sine of mod ln2 minus sine x. This is another mod, right? And we need to find out whether it's differentiable or not. So first of all, when the limit we are taking is x is close to 0. So if x is a very small number, sin x is a very small number, right? So ln2 minus sin x is obviously a positive number. So for x greater than 0, we can write g of x is equal to mod of ln2 minus sine of ln2 minus x, because ln2 is obviously greater than x. Now what about sine of ln2 minus? For that we can look at the approximate values. ln2 is approximately 0.7. We need to find out what sine of 0.7 approximately, because if x is very small, this will be sine of ln2. We need to find out whether or not this is greater than or less than 0.7. There's one comparison which we can do easily. Pi is 3.14. So pi by 4 is slightly less than 0.8, something like 0.79 or 0.785, right? And we know sine of pi by 4 is 1 by root 2, which is root 2 by 2, which is 1.414 by 2, approximately 0.7, right? So we know that sine of pi by 4, sine of 0.79 is approximately 0.7. So sine of something smaller than that, sine of 0.7, will obviously be less than 0.7. Because sin x is an increasing function, if you take a value slightly smaller than 45, it will give you a value slightly smaller than 0.7. Right, so this modulus will also be, the thing inside the modulus will again be positive. So you get g of x is equal to ln2 minus sine of ln2 minus sine x. ln2 minus sine x. For x greater than 0. What about for x less than 0? If x is less than 0 but approaching 0, sin x is negative, but it's still a very small number. ln2 minus sin x is still positive, and ln2 minus sine of that is still again positive, because everything else is the same, just this modulus is shifted by a slight amount, right? So g of x for x less than 0 but approaching 0 is the same ln2 minus sine of ln2 minus sine x. So we can see that the function now is differentiable, because even after removing all the moduluses, they both have the same structure, and now we can just calculate the value. G dash of x is equal to minus cos of ln2 minus sin x multiplied by minus cos x. So minus and minus cancel. What we get is cos x cos of ln2 minus sin x. And for x is equal to 0, cos x is 1, we simply get cos of ln2, because sin x is 0. So the answer to this question will be g dash 0 is cos of ln2, which means the answer is option 2. 72. Now 72 is a pretty standard expression. You should know what this is. We are talking about tan inverse of root of 1 plus sin x by 1 minus sin x. So I'll just quickly show you where it comes from. This ultimately ends up being equal to pi by 4 plus x by 2. This is a standard identity, but let's just derive it. It's not that hard. So root of 1 plus sin x by 1 minus sin x. What we'll do is, one we'll write it as sin square x by 2 plus cos square x by 2 in both the numerator and denominator, and sin x we'll write as 2 sin x by 2 cos x by 2. So what we'll get is a square plus b square plus 2ab, and in the denominator a square plus b square minus 2ab, or a plus b whole squared by a minus b whole squared, and the root of that will give me a plus b by a minus b. So this is cos x by 2 plus sin x by 2 by cos x by 2 minus sin x by 2. And this is obviously 1 plus tan x by 2 by 1 minus tan x by 2, which can be written as tan pi by 4 plus tan x by 2 by 1 minus tan pi by 4 tan x by 2, which becomes tan of pi by 4 plus x by 2. This is the term inside the bracket, so tan inverse of that obviously is pi by 4 plus x by 2. Right, if you are talking between 0 and pi by 2, the value of x is between 0 and pi by 2. And now this is quite easy. So this is the function y of x is equal to x by 2 plus pi by 4. We want the normal at x is equal to pi by 6. So dy by dx is 1 by 2, which means the slope of this line is 1 by 2, which means the slope of the normal is minus 2, which means the equation will be y minus y naught is equal to minus 2 times x minus x naught. And what are x naught and y naught? We are given that it is pi by 6. So x naught is pi by 6 and y will be pi by 12 plus pi by 4 will be pi by 3. So this comes out to be y plus 2x is equal to this is positive pi by 3 and this is positive pi by 3, so 2 pi by 3. And you can just put in the 4 options and see which one of these is valid. 0, 0 is obviously not valid. If x is 0, y is 2 pi by 3, so option 2 is correct. If y is 0, x is pi by 3, which is not any of the other options, 3 or 4. So the answer will simply be option 2. In the next question, a wire of length 2 units is cut into 2 parts. So, and one of them is a circle of radius r and the other is a square of side x. So we already have 4x plus 2 pi r is equal to 2. This is the first equation we have. And we want to find the sum of the areas and make that minimum. So the sum of the areas will be x squared plus pi r squared. And we need this to be minimum, so we'll write one of these as we just need this as one variable, so we'll substitute x from here. What we can see is x is equal to 1 minus pi r by 2. So a is equal to 1 minus pi r by 2 whole squared plus pi r squared. And now we need dA by dr to be 0 so that a is minimum. This is equal to 2 times 1 minus pi r by 2, I'm using the chain rule, into minus pi plus 2 pi r. This is equal to this cancels. What we get is pi squared r minus pi hang on, there's a 2 here. Yeah, this will be minus pi by 2 because the derivative of 1 minus pi r by 2 with respect to r is minus pi by 2. So this is a by 2 and by 2. So we can just make a 4 here and we can cancel all the pi's. This is just 1. And what we can see is 4r plus pi r is equal to 1, or r is equal to 1 by 4 plus pi. Now from this equation we can try to calculate x. X is equal to 1 minus pi by 4 plus pi by 2. So this is 4 plus pi minus pi, or 4 by 4 plus pi by 2 is 2 pi 4 plus pi. So we can easily see the relation between x and r is that x is equal to 2r, which means the answer is option 3. We are asked the value of the integral of 2x to the power 12 plus 5x to the power 9 dx by 1 plus x cube plus x to the power 5 whole cube. And we know what the first method of approach is to try to solve these questions. We just, if the numerator is not the derivative of the denominator, we try to manipulate it so that the numerator becomes the derivative of the denominator. The first try would be to make these exponents negative. So what we'll do is we'll take x to the power 5 common, and since it's a cube, x to the power 15 will be taken common from the denominator. And if we divide the numerator by x to the power 15, what we get is 2x to the power minus 3 plus 5x to the power minus 6 dx. And what we are left with is x cube is taken from each and one of these three, x to the power 5 is taken, from each and every one of these three. So what we get 1 plus x to the power minus 2 plus x to the power minus 5 whole cube. This is exactly the same as this. Now the derivative of the term in the brackets is minus 2 times x to the power minus 3 and minus 5 times x to the power minus 6, which is the negative of the numerator. So we put the denominator as t, and what we get is this integral is the same as minus dt by t cube. This is equal to minus, now this will be t to the power minus 3, the integral will be t to the power minus 2 by minus 2, minus minus will cancel, so 1 by 2t squared plus c. That comes out to be 1 by 2 times 1 plus x to the power minus 2 plus x to the power minus 5 whole squared plus c. And we can just write these as 1 by x square, 1 by x to the power 5, and take x to the power 10 into the numerator, and what we'll get is x to the power 10 by 2 times 1 plus x cube plus x to the power 5 whole squared plus c, which means the answer is option 2. Next we are given the limit as n goes to infinity up to 3n, which I'll just write as n plus 2n, and in the denominator we have n to the power 2n, or n 2n times, and all of this is to the power of 1 by n. So we can basically just write this as limit n goes to infinity, pi stands for the product of n plus 1 by n, right? So n plus k by n rather, where k goes from 1 to 2n, and this is to the power 1 by n, right? So we have n plus 1 by n into n plus 2 by n into n plus 3 by n. Ultimately the final term is n plus 2n by n. Let's say this is p. Now we can take the log of both sides. That will bring out this 1 by n as a product, and this product of pi will turn into a sum. So ln p is equal to 1 by n times sum of k is equal to 1 to n, 2n ln of 1 plus k by n. Right? Now this is where it becomes interesting. Since n goes to infinity, 1 by n is very, very small. Right? What we'll do is r by n, or k by n rather, we'll write it as a variable x. Right? Now k has an infinite number of values from 1 to 2n, and a small change in k will simply be 1. Right? But that will be a small change in x. So 1 by n, which will be a small change in k divided by n, can be written as dx, because 1 by n is itself a very, very small number. K by n is not necessarily a small number, because k could be 2n, then x would be 2. And then this sum will be replaced by an integral, because it's the sum of a function and a small change in x. So this can be written as integral of, now instead of k we'll write r, and that will go from 1 by n to 2n by n. 1 by n will be 0, 2n by n will be 2. ln of 1 plus r, 1 plus x dx. This is x, by the way, sorry. So this is the most important step. After that it's just basic integration. 1 by n is a very, very small change in k by n. So if k by n is x, this is ln 1 plus x, 1 by n can be dx, and since there are infinite terms, each of them has a value which is very, very small because of the dx. The sum of infinite terms, each of them which has an infinitesimal value, is basically an integration. That's the definition of integration. So this will be x goes from 0 to 2, 1 plus x dx. Now we know what the integral of this is. Integral of ln x is x ln x minus x. So this will be 1 plus x ln of 1 plus x minus of 1 plus x. Going from 0 to 2, which will be the value at 2 will be 3 ln 3 minus 3 minus the value at 0, which will be, this will be 1 times ln of 1, which is 0, and this will be minus 1. So it comes out to be 3 ln 3 minus 2. This is ln p. Now we can get p from here. This can be written as ln p is equal to ln of 3 to the power 3, which is 27, minus 2, which is ln of e squared. So by e squared, which gives me p is equal to 27 by e squared, which means the answer is option 2. I think this was one of the more difficult questions in this paper, also quite lengthy. Next question. We are given the area in square units of the region xy such that y squared is greater than equal to 2x and x squared plus y squared less than equal to 4x. I'll just write that as x squared plus y squared minus 4x less than equal to 0. Or I can even write this as x minus 2 whole squared plus y squared less than equal to 2 squared, right, by adding 4 on each side, and y squared is greater than equal to 2x. These are the two conditions. So the first one, y square is equal to 2x, is just a parabola like this. I apologize, my drawings might not be that great. So this is the parabola. This is just the origin, it touches the origin, and this is a circle with center at 2, 0 and radius of 2 units. So this circle will be something like this. And we want the interior of this circle because that's when x minus 2 whole squared by y squared is less than equal to 2 squared. But we also want the exterior of the parabola because within the interior of the parabola y squared is less than equal to 2x. So the intersection of the exterior of the parabola and interior of the circle are these two regions. This is the first region and this will be the second region. I'll just draw a smaller figure also, so I hope it will be clearer. This would be the parabola and this would be the circle, and this is the region we want, which is in the interior of the circle and the exterior of the parabola. But also we are given x and y is greater than equal to 0, so we just want it in the first quadrant, not the fourth quadrant. So this is the region we want, which is in the first quadrant, it is in the exterior of the parabola and in the interior of the circle, and we want to find out that area, right? So let's try to do that. I'll just try to draw this figure a little bit neatly one more time. And the other is something like this. Yeah, that's as good as it'll get. So this is y squared is equal to 2x. This is x minus 2 whole squared plus y squared is equal to 4. We need the intersection of these 2 points, right? So we can just put x minus 2 whole squared plus y squared, which is 2x, is equal to 4. X squared minus 4x plus 2x or minus 2x is equal to 0. X is equal to 0 or 2. X is equal to 0 we know is this point, right, which gives us y is equal to 0 as well, and x is equal to 2 gives us y is equal to 2, so 2, 2. That means this line is perpendicular because the x coordinate of this and the center is the same, and we need this region. Now the total region in the interior of the circle is quite easy, that is 1/4 of the area of the circle. So 1/4 into pi r squared, pi into 2 squared, which is pi. So the total interior is pi minus, now we need the exterior of the parabola. So what we'll do is we'll subtract this region interior of the parabola. So minus integral from 0 to 2 of y dx. We'll solve this in a minute, but this is basically the answer, because this total area is 1/4 of pi r squared, and this area will be the integral of y dx. The difference between them, the remaining part, will be what is in the interior of the circle but the exterior of the parabola simultaneously. And now this is quite easy to calculate. This will be pi minus integral 0 to 2. Y square is 2x, so y is root of 2x dx, which is pi minus root 2 times x to the power 1 by 2 gives me x to the power 3 by 2 by 3 by 2. So into 2 by 3 x to the power 3 by 2, which is 2 to the power 3 by 2. So this is 2 root 2 into 2 root 2. 2 to the power 3 by 2 and 1 is 5 by 2 and half is 6 by 2 or 3. 2 to the power 3 is 8. So this gives me the answer as pi minus 8 by 3, which 8 by 3, which means the answer is option 2. This total area was pi, and the area in the interior was 8 by 3. The difference between them will be the region we want. We want a curve next that passes through the point 1 comma minus 1 and satisfies the equation y times 1 plus xy dx is equal to x dy. So we just need to solve this. This can be written as dy by dx is equal to y by x times 1 plus xy. And we can solve these equations by substituting y is equal to ux, which gives me dy by dx is equal to u plus x du by dx. So what we get is u plus x du by dx is equal to u, which is y by x, times 1 plus xy. So this is x into y, which is ux. So this is equal to u plus u squared x squared. This is u plus x du by dx, so u and u cancel. What we get is x du by dx is equal to u squared x squared, which means du by u squared is equal to x dx, and we can integrate. We know it passes through 1 comma minus 1, which means x is 1 and y is minus 1, which means u is also minus 1. So when x is 1, u is minus 1. These are an initial conditions, right? And this will be finally x and u. So what we get is this will be u to the power minus 2, whose integral is u to the power minus 1 by minus 1, or minus 1 by u. So minus 1 by u minus minus 1 by minus 1 is equal to x squared minus 1 by 2, which gives me minus 1 by u. Now we need to take care of the minus sign here. These two cancel. Minus 1 x squared by 2 minus 1 by 2 minus 1 by 2, which gives me x squared by 2 plus 1 by u, which now I can write as x by y, is equal to, this goes here, 1 by 2 minus 1 is minus 1 by 2. So this is the equation. This is basically the implicit form of the function, and now we can get f of minus 1 by 2 by putting x is equal to minus 1 by 2. So what we get is 1 by 8 minus 1 by 2y is equal to minus 1 by 2, or 1 by 2y is equal to 1 by 8 plus 1 by 2, which is 4 by 8, or 5 by 8, which gives me y is equal to 4 by 5. So the answer to this question is y is 4 by 5, which is option 4. We are given two sides of a rhombus are x minus y plus 1 and 7x minus y minus 5 is 0. So obviously we can find one vertex by their intersection. So substituting y from the first one, x minus 6 is 0, x is 1, which gives us y as 2, which means one coordinate, one vertex is 1 comma 2. We know that the diagonals intersect at -1 comma -2, which would be the center of the rhombus. We can from this find out the opposite vertex because the diagonals meet at the midpoint. So 1 and -1, so -2 should be their sum, so this would be -3, and -4 should be their sum, so this will be -6. You can see that the midpoint of these 2 points is indeed -1 comma -2. 2 minus 6 is -4 by 2 is -2. 1 minus 3 is -2 by 2 is -1. Right? Now -3 comma -6 is not any of the option. So obviously we need to find the other two vertices. And we can find them easily. They will pass through -1, they will lie on a line passing through -1 comma -2 and perpendicular to this line. What is the slope of this line? 2 minus of -2 is 4, 1 minus of -1 is 2, the 4 by 2, which is 2. So the slope of this line is 2, which means the slope of this line is -1 by 2. Which means the equation of this line is y minus y naught, or y plus 2, is equal to -1 by 2 times x plus 1, which gives us x plus 2y equals, what is left is -1 by 2, what is left is -1 and 4, so -5. So this is the equation of the line. The other two vertices obviously lie on this line, and you can put in the values to actually get the answer. And you'll see that only point 3, which is 1 by 3, comma -8 by 3, only that satisfies this equation. So the answer is option 3. We are given we are asked to find the locus of centers of the circle which touch the circle x squared plus y squared minus 8x minus 8y minus 4 is 0, which I'll write as x minus 4 whole squared plus y minus 4 whole squared is equal to, now their sum is 32 and we need a total of -4, so 36, so is equal to 6 squared. So this is the same as the equation given, which means the center of this circle is 4 comma 4 and the radius is 6. You can actually get this from the original form as well, you know the formulas. And there is an other circle which touches this circle and also touches the x-axis. So if there's a circle which touches the x-axis and the center is at a point h comma k, then k is also the radius. Right. So we know that if the circle has a center h comma k, then the radius is also equal to k. So h comma k, we need to find out an equation involving h and k, and it touches this particular circle. We know what happens if two circles touch. Let's say these are touching. The distance between their centers is equal to r1 plus r2, which means root of h minus 4 whole squared plus k minus 4 whole squared is equal to 6 plus k, which gives me h squared plus k squared minus 8h minus 8k plus 32 is equal to 6 plus k whole squared, k squared plus 12k plus 36. Now k square and k square cancel, and the moment k square and k square cancel, you know that this is not the equation of a circle, this is actually the equation of a parabola, which means the answer is option 4, because you'll have x square and y, you won't have any power of k square. So the answer will be option 4, a parabola. The next question is also on circles. We are given a circle, and I'll just write it again in the usual form. X squared minus 4x gives me x minus 2 whole squared, and y squared plus 6y gives me y plus 3 whole squared, and what is left is, so this is 4 plus 9 is 13, and we need minus 12, so this is equal to 25, which is 5 squared. So center is 2 comma minus 3, and the radius is 5. And we are talking about one of the diameters of this circle. So let's say this is the circle and this is one of the diameters of the circle. We know that is the chord of another circle. So let's say there's another circle like this, any circle, and we know this diameter is also the chord of the other circle. And the center of that circle, of course the coordinates don't match, you can forget these x and y, I don't know why I drew them. Now this center is given to us to be -3, 2, and we are asked the radius of this circle. So we can calculate this side, let's call it d, which is the distance between the two centers. And we know what this is. This is r, the radius of the first circle. And using Pythagoras theorem, we can calculate the radius of the second circle, which will come out to be root of r squared plus d squared. R we know is 5, and d we can calculate as root of 2 and -3 will give me 5 squared, and -3 and 2 will also give me 5 squared. So is root 50 is d, so d square is 50 and r square is 25. So the big radius, let's call it capital R, is root of 75, which can be written as 5 root 3, which means the answer is option 2, 5 root 3. Let's look at the next question. We are given that P is a point on the parabola which is at a minimum distance from the center C of the circle x squared plus y plus 6 whole squared is equal to 1. The center of this circle is 0, -6, and the radius of this circle is 1. So let's take the point on the parabola to be h, now y square is equal to 8h, so y is equal to root 8h. Actually, it will be easier to work with k. So let's take the y coordinate to be k, and then the x coordinate will be k square by 8, y square by 8, because we don't have to work with roots then. So this is a random point P. Now this point has the distance from 0, -6, which is the minimum value. So we can just do that. The distance d will be root of k square by 8 whole squared, or k to the power 4 by 64, plus k plus 6 whole squared. Now this has to be the minimum. If this is minimum, the thing between the roots will also be minimum, which means the derivative with respect to k will be 0. So 4 by 64 will be 16. So k cube by 16 plus 2 times k plus 6, that is 2k plus 12. This has to be equal to 0, which means k cube plus 32k plus 1612 is 192 is equal to 0. Now we need solutions of this. There will be 3 solutions. We know how to do that. We need just one solution by inspection, and generally in you will have at least one. If it's an integer solution, you can see it by inspection, put it that way. So after looking at a little bit while, you can see that first of all k has to be negative, because only then will k cube and k be negative, and you'll see k is equal to -4 does satisfy this equation, because -4 whole cube will be -64, and 32 into -4 will be 64 into 2, that is -128, and you can see that their sum is -192. So k is -4 is a solution. That means k square times k plus 4 plus, now 4k square is left, so -4k times k plus 4. Now we have plus 16k, we need plus 32k. So plus 16 times, we need plus 32k, so plus 48 times k plus 4, and 48 into 4 is 192. This is 0, which means the other equation is k square minus 4k plus 48 is 0, and since the discriminant is positive, there is no other solution. So the only solution to this equation is k is -4, which means x will be -4 whole square, or 16 by 8, which is 2. So p is equal to 2, -4. So we found out the point P. We want the equation of a circle passing through C and having its center at P. So the equation will be x minus 2 whole squared plus y plus 4 whole squared is equal to r squared, and it has to pass through the center C, the center of the first circle. It has to pass through 0 comma minus 6. So this will be 2 squared, which is 4, and minus 6 plus 4 will again give me 2 squared or 4, 8. So r is 2 root 2, which means r square is 8. So the equation is x squared minus 4x plus y squared plus 8y, and then this is 8 and this is 16. The sum will be 24 minus 8. Sorry, 20 minus 8. 4 plus 16 is 20. 20 minus 8, which will be 12. So x square minus 4x plus y square plus 8y plus 12 is equal to 0, which means the answer is option 1. We are given that the eccentricity of a hyperbola, we have to find out the eccentricity of a hyperbola, and the length of the latest rectum is 8. We know what the formula for the length of the latest rectum is. It is 2b squared by a, and we are given that is 8, which means b square is equal to 4a. And then we are given the length of the conjugate axis. The length of the conjugate axis is 2b. This is the transverse axis, this is the conjugate axis. This is equal to half the distance between the foci, and the two foci are located at plus minus AE. So the distance between them is 2AE, and half of that is AE, which means B is equal to AE by 2. Let's just write 2B is equal to AE, and we also know that E is equal to root of 1 plus B square by A squared. So we can square this. What we'll get is 4 times B squared, and B squared can be written as 4A. So 4 times 4A is equal to A squared times E squared. E squared can be written as 1 plus B squared by A squared. Actually, it will be easier to solve in terms of E. So instead of this, we'll just write it as B squared, and this is B squared by A squared, and we'll write that as E square minus 1. Okay, so the equation we get is 4 times E square minus 1 is equal to E squared, which means 3E squared is equal to 4, which means E squared is 4 by 3, or E is 2 by root 3. So the answer to this question will be E is 2 by root 3, which is which is option 3. Then we are asked to find the distance of the point 1 comma minus 5 comma 9 from the plane x minus y plus z measured along the line x is equal to y is equal to z. So what we'll do is we'll find the equation of the line x is equal to y is equal to z passing through this point, and then we'll intersect that with the plane, and then we'll calculate the distance between the 2 points. So the equation for the line will be, this is x minus 1 by 0 equals y minus 1 by 0, x minus 0 by 1 equals y minus 0 by 1 equals z minus 0 by 1. So if you change that point to this point, what you'll get is x minus 1 by 1 equals y plus 5 by 1 equals z minus 9 by 1. Let's say it's equal to k, which means a point on this line can be represented as k plus 1 comma k minus 5 comma k plus 9. So this is any random point on this line. This is the point 1 comma minus 5 comma 9, and we need this point, the point where this line intersects with x plus y plus x minus y plus z is equal to 5. I didn't write that. So which means k plus 1 minus k minus 5 or minus k plus 5 plus k plus 9 is equal to 5, which gives us k plus 15 is equal to 5, or k is equal to minus 10, which means the point is minus 9 minus 15 and minus 1. This is this point. And now we can find the distance between these 2 points, that is root of minus 9 and 1 gives me 10 squared, minus 15 and minus 5 gives me 10 squared, and minus 9 and minus 1 gives me 10 squared, which is equal to 10 root 3. So the distance is equal to 10 root 3, which means the answer is option 2. Let's move on to question 84. The line given as x minus 3 by 2 equals y plus 2 by minus 1 equals z plus 4 by 3, and this lies in the plane lx plus my minus z is equal to 9, and we need to find out the relation between, we need to find out the value of L squared plus M squared. So the direction vector of this line will be 2i minus j plus 3k, and the direction perpendicular to this plane will be li plus mj minus k. And if this lies in the plane, then the direction along this line should be perpendicular to this. So this vector should be perpendicular to this vector. From that we get 2l minus k minus 3 is equal to 0, or 2l minus k is equal to 3. 2l minus m is equal to 3 rather. So this is the first equation, 2l minus m is equal to 3. If we can find another equation, we can get the values of l and m. Now if this line lies in the plane, then every point on this line lies in the plane. So we can just take any random point. If we take this is equal to 0 each, then the point we get is minus 3 comma minus 2 comma minus 4, and this point also has to lie on this plane, which means 3l minus 2m minus 4 plus 4 rather is equal to 9, which gives me 3l minus 2m is equal to 5. So these are the two equations. If you solve them, what you'll get is L is equal to 1 and M is equal to minus 1, which means L squared plus M squared is equal to 2, which means the answer is 2, which is option 4. We are given A, B and C are unit vectors such that A cross B cross C is equal to root 3 by 2 times B plus C. So we can use the standard identity for A cross B cross C. It is B times A dot C minus C times A dot B. This is equal to root 3 by 2B plus root 3 by 2C. Now since B and C are not collinear, this term has to be equal to root 3 by 2 and this term has to be equal to minus root 3 by 2, which means A dot B is equal to minus root 3 by 2, because B and C are linearly independent vectors, which is equal to mod A mod B cos theta, which means the angle between them is 150 degrees, which is 5 pi by 6, which means the answer is option 4. In the next case, we are asked a relation between, we are asked for an equation in the standard deviation of numbers 2, 3, A and 11. We can calculate the standard deviation quite easily. First of all, the mean, let's just call it x average, will be 2 plus 3 plus A plus 11 by 4, which is 16 plus A by 4, or 4 plus A by 4. Then the standard deviation, if it's A, then what we get is A squared is the root mean squared. A square is the variance, so A square is the mean square of the differences, which means 4 plus A by 4 minus 2 gives me 2 plus A by 4 whole square, plus 3 gives me 1 plus A by 4 whole squared, plus This minus a gives me 4 minus 3a by 4 whole squared, plus this minus 11 gives me 7 minus a by 4 whole squared divided by 4. Sorry, this is sigma squared. Sigma squared is given to be as to be 3.5 whole square. 3.5 is 7 by 2, so this is 49 by 4. And now from this we can find an equation for a. Let's just say for a while that a by 4 is equal to b, some new number, which means 49 is equal to 2 plus b whole squared. B squared plus 4b plus 4 plus 1 plus b whole squared. B squared plus 2b plus 1 plus 4 minus 3b whole squared. 9b squared plus 16 minus 24b plus 7 minus b whole squared. 49 plus b squared minus 14b. 49 and 49 directly cancel. B square, 9b square and b square give me 12b squared. 4b and 2b is 6b, minus 24 is b minus 18b, minus 14b is minus 32b, and 4 and 1 is 5, and 16 is 21, so plus 21 is equal to 0, which means 12a squared by 4 minus 32a by 4, 12a squared by 16 rather, minus 32a by 4 plus 21 is equal to 0. Okay, so you cancel this, what you get is 3 by 4. You multiply both sides by 4, what you get is 3a squared minus 32a plus 84 is equal to 0, which means the answer is option 2. So this was 86, not 8. In the next question, we are given two fair six-sided die A and B are thrown simultaneously. E1 is the event that A shows 4. E2 is the event that B shows 2. And E3 is the event that sum is odd. Now it's a fair-sided die, so at this point E1, E2 and E3 have actual values, but whether or not they're independent depends on if E1 and E2 change, would E3 change, and so on. So in that case we would have to assume, what if they were not fair six-faced die? So let's just assume, obviously these two are independent because the die these two are independent because those dice are not interrelated. And obviously E1 and E3 are independent because E1 depends only on A, but E3 depends on A and B. And since B is independent of A, E1 and E3 are independent. Similarly, E2 and E3 are independent. The question is then, is the fourth option, is that true? Are E1, E2 and E3 all independent? And that is actually not true. They are dependent, and the reason for that is, first of all, you can easily say that they are dependent because one of these has to be true. But if you look at it logically, let's say E was not a fair die. That means E had a, let's say, 99% chance of showing 4, and it had a 1% chance of showing 1, 2, 3, 5 and 6. That means E is predominantly even. So the sum being odd means that B should be predominantly odd. So obviously E3 changes if we change E1 from a fair-sided die in which the probability would be 1 by 6 to some other die. So there is a relation between E1, E2 and E3 such that if two of them are decided in value, then the third one has to depend on the first two, because depending on the value of E1 and E2, we'll know whether the sum is odd or not. So together the three are not independent, they are dependent, but any two of them taken together will be independent. Sort of like x plus y is equal to z. That is not the relation here obviously, but in this case x and y are independent, y and z are independent, x and z are independent, but x, y and z are certainly not independent. Because you take the values of 2 and the third's value will automatically be decided. The next question is quite a standard trigonometric question. For 0 less than x less than 2 pi, 0 grid, cos x plus cos 2x plus cos 3x plus cos 4x is equal to 0. This is what we want, right? So what we can do is we can use the identity cos c plus cos d is equal to 2 cos c plus d by 2 cos c minus d by 2, and it would be nicer if we applied the identity between the first and the last and the second and the third, because that gives me 2 cos 5x by 2 cos 3x by 2 plus 2 cos 5x by 2 cos 4x by 2 is equal to 0. Now we can take 2 cos of 5x by 2 is equal to into cos 3x by 2 plus cos, this is 2x plus 3x, 2x minus 3x, x by 2, sorry. 1 plus 4, 5, 4 minus 1, 3. Yeah, this is the correct equation. So cos 3x by 2 plus cos x by 2. Now we can apply the same identity again. Cos c plus cos d is 2 cos c plus d by 2 cos c minus d by 2, c minus d by 2. So it will be 2 cos of 3x by 2 plus x by 2 is 4x by 2 divided by 2 is 4x by 4, or 2x. Cos of 3x by 2 minus 2x by 2 is x. So yeah, sorry, this will be x and this will be x by 2. The sum of these two is 4x by 2, which is 2x, half of that is x. Difference is 2x by 2 and half of that is x by 2. This is equal to 0. So we get the equations cos of x by 2 is 0, cos x is 0, cos 5x by 2 is 0. This gives me x by 2 is equal to pi by 2 or 3 pi by 2, and what we need is all values of x should be between 0 and 2 pi. So this gives me x is pi and 3 pi, but 3 pi will not count, so x is equal to pi, because 3 pi is not between the range 0 to 2 pi. Cos x is equal to 0 gives me x is equal to pi by 2 and 3 pi by 2, which means obviously both are correct, pi by 2 and 3 pi by 2. This gives me 5x by 2 is equal to pi by 2. It could be 3 pi by 2, it could be 5 pi by 2, 7 pi by 2, and so on. Which means we'll just multiply by 2 by 5. So x is equal to pi by 5, 3 pi by 5, 5 pi by 5, which is pi, 7 pi by 5, 9 pi by 5, and we won't include 11 pi by 5 because that exceeds 2 pi, right? So how many independent solutions do we have? This pi is already included here, so we don't need to include that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 2. So we get a total of 7 solutions to this equation. So 7 solutions means the answer is option 3, which is 7. Let's look at the next question. This is x, this is y, this is, let's say, z. This we are given to be 60 and this is 30. A man is walking towards a vertical pillar at uniform speed. At a point A, the angle of elevation is 30. He walks 10 minutes, and B, it is 60 degrees. Right, so let's say this is z. So z by y is equal to tan 60, which is root 3. And z by y plus x is equal to 3, which sorry, 1 by root 3 tan 30, which gives me y plus x by y is equal to, just divide by this, is equal to 3, which means y plus x is equal to 3y, which gives me x is equal to 2y. So x is equal to 2 times y. Now the time taken in going from A to B is 10 minutes. So he covers the distance x in 10 minutes. That means y is equal to x by 2. So how this figure is obviously not drawn properly. It seems that y is greater than x, but just pay attention to the numbers. Y is half of x. So if he travels this distance in 10 minutes, he'll travel this distance, B to this point, let's say O, in 5 minutes. Which means the answer will be option 4, which is 5. And the last question is on Boolean algebra, and you can just draw the truth table to see P and Q can be true, true and false, false and true, false and false, and you'll write down the value of P and minus Q or not Q, or Q or not P and Q. So if both are true, then P and not Q is obviously not true, but Q is true, right? And these are 3 OR functions. So if Q is true, it has to be true. Similarly, if Q is true, it has to be true. What if Q is false? Then not Q is true and P is true. So P and not Q is true. So this is true. What if both are false? Then you have false and true, which is false. This is false, and this is true and false, which is also false. So all 3 in the OR brackets are false. And this is the same as the truth table for P and Q. Sorry, my mistake. This is the truth table for P or Q, which means the answer is option 3. This completes the solutions for the 2016 JEE Mains Mathematics paper. Thank you.